Hey everybody, welcome to All Things Savannah, our weekly show where we talk about the people, the places, the interesting histories that we have going on here in the hostess city. Today we have Ann Davis on the show, and she is an incredible woman. She is the executive director for Heroes for Hallie Grace and a clinical psychologist, and is on a mission of awareness, education, and compassion about a rare disease known as EB for short. And I'm going to have you
Yeah. Pronounce it?
elaborate that. Yeah.
Yeah. So EB is epidermolysis bullosa, which is why it is shortened to EB, just because it's obviously a little difficult to pronounce. But it's a rare genetic condition in which someone is missing a protein that holds the skin together. So it depends on which type of EB, where that mutation is, and then how deep that goes into the skin. So AKA how mild or severe it might be for them. But it can be anywhere from epidermis, junction between the two dermis, and basically that means that any sort of friction or heat can actually shear or blister the skin. So it's a very painful disorder.
And of course, we know this, the audience may not. You lost your second child, Hallie, to this.
I did. That's actually the first time we ever heard of EB. So EB is known as the worst disease you've never heard of. And we didn't hear of it until she was born on June 5th in 2021 with a few blisters. And they basically found out that she had EB, and she had the most terminal type, which is junctional EB. So it was the layer between the epidermis and the dermis, and so she was blistered quite badly at the end. She was 3 months and 3 days old when we lost her.
And you had to have a kind of a crash course in understanding what this horrible disease
Yeah, you
is.
and Joe, your husband.
Yes. Yeah, we basically learned a lot about genetics. We learned a lot about nursing and wound care. As you said, I'm a clinical psychologist, so I'm not in the medical side of that at all. In fact, that was one of the reasons I went into clinical psychology. I don't do well with medical stuff normally. And so when your child has a medical condition that you have to suddenly become their wound care nurse, it was a very big adjustment for us, but obviously you do anything you would have to do for your child. And so it just was something we rolled into our daily experience.
Your daily experience.
Daily experience, yep, right from the get. Hallie did go into the NICU for about a week, but the rest of the time she was home with us. And so we had to do every diaper change, took about 30 minutes to an hour because we had to dress her wounds. About every other day we were doing full bandage changes head to toe, which took about 3 hours. And so think about a little baby having to be still for that amount of time. Right?
And also in pain and not
In
knowing
pain,
what's going on.
Yep, yeah. And we didn't know exactly what type she had for the first several weeks, so there was a lot of just kind of figuring things out. One of the things about EB too is because there are so many different types, it's always trial and error in terms of what works for your child. So there can be times when you try and bandage them to help them, but it ends up harming them in some way. And so it's a very devastating disorder for the caretaker as well. Like obviously it's painful for the person, but as the caretaker who would do anything to love your child and make them feel better, if you make a quote unquote mistake, which is just basically you trying something out, and you see that it causes harm, that is probably one of the hardest things to deal with as a parent.
As you're going through this, are you getting support? I mean, I don't know what the healthcare industry can and is prepared to do, both in education and assistance. What kind of support did you get?
So the biggest support, to be honest, was the EB community. So there's actually several big national charities out there like EB Research Partnership and Deborah of America, EB Medical Research Foundation. These are the three big ones, and they provide a lot of things for new parents, like welcome boxes with different types of wound care supplies, or there's also like Facebook groups that they coordinate, and so you actually get to meet other families dealing with this, because usually you're so spread out, it's so rare that you feel very alone. And so finding other people that understand is incredibly helpful and honestly mental health saving. In terms of actual support, like from insurance and that kind of thing, a lot of times insurance doesn't cover the wound care supplies in the way they need to. So some families are putting out about $10,000 a month
Oh my goodness.
for the supplies. Yeah. So it can be really overwhelming. We had applied for Medicaid, but Hallie didn't live long enough for us to get that
See,
approved.
most people would not know that.
Yeah. And then you can, in certain states, apply to get paid as a caregiver. So, like, if Hallie had lived longer, our goal was to have Joe quit his job just because my job makes a little bit more money. And so it made more sense for him to be the stay-at-home dad. And he was
Sure.
going to quit his job and try and apply to be an in-home caretaker for our daughter. So it's a lot to figure out. It can be incredibly stressful, and there's really not many people out there to guide you outside of the EB community or rare disease community themselves. And so we have really, since Hallie's passing and since they were so helpful to us, we have really engaged with them more and more. We've kind of, I don't know, become dear friends with so many of these other organizations and the people that have continued to fight EB. And we're trying to kind of bring everyone together and figure out ways that if there is a new family, like how can we make it a more streamlined process so they know who to talk to, they know who to
That's
go
wonderful.
to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. So then the second part of this too is the foundation that you've started.
Yes. So once we lost Hallie, we had to figure out a new way to parent her. I think when people lose a child, it's very stigmatizing. People don't like to talk about it publicly, and oftentimes you can feel very alone. And I will say there is no right or wrong way to handle it. When you lose a child, if you do not want to talk about it, that's okay. If you do, that's okay too. So finding our way throughout our grief and how we wanted to handle the situation, for us personally, we wanted to keep her alive in some way. We wanted to continue to parent our kid, and the best way to do that was to pay it forward. So we wanted to leave her this legacy, this lasting impact that would then help the EB community that had been so helpful to us when she was alive. So we created Heroes for Hallie Grace in March of 2022. So just I guess that was probably about 6 or 7 months after she passed. And then we have continued to raise money, and our main mission is basically raising awareness, because again, you can't care about something if you don't know about it.
Right.
Raising funding for vital research. They actually, in the past 6 months or a year, have come up with the first 2 FDA-approved treatments for EB. So when Hallie was born, there was literally nothing available. And now there are 2, and there's a 3rd one on the way. And so the research is changing before our eyes.
That's great.
It's amazing. And so we are really working hard to help fund that. And then our 3rd thing is connection with other EB families. So we try and help where the other big organizations maybe can't. So we provide special bamboo clothing or bamboo diapers, or maybe like a special changing table, just like the little things that can help make their journey a little bit more comfortable. So we look at it individually.
And that's something that's great, and it's also it's responsive. Meaning, you've gone through this terrible experience
Yeah.
in so many ways, but again, you're finding a guiding light for other people and changing what's available,
Yeah.
how the situation can be handled,
Yeah.
and this awareness aspect of it.
Yeah, it gives us some sort of purpose. It helps us feel like she's still with us all the time, And so it's just been an amazing journey for our entire family, including our children,
Right.
our living children. So our eldest is 5, and she actually paints wooden butterflies and sells them. She calls them Brielle's butterflies, and she does it to help raise money for our organization. And then she often uses it to donate things for some of the events that we do. So she's very involved, and she loves and remembers her sister dearly. And then our youngest, which was our surprise, our beautiful surprise baby, Evan, who is now 17 months, almost 18 months old, he will grow up knowing his sister as well. So we like to involve the whole family in this to the degree that they are all comfortable,
Right. And
Yeah.
age appropriate.
And age appropriate, absolutely.
So they'll have a very interesting sense of their sister.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. I want them to see what an impact she's going to make on the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
I think it also starts them off in a good place for caring about others.
Yes.
Compassion.
Yes.
I've actually, ever since I wanted children and thought about having children, I've always said they can be whatever they want to be, but I want them to be kind. That's like our main goal in our family, and developing compassion for other people. And so it's just really interesting how this is playing out, where they're going to grow up in a house that runs a nonprofit, and literally our whole goal is to help other people.
Right.
So I love that
Big
piece
impact.
of it. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If you're just tuning in or hitting us up right now, we are All Things Savannah. We are recording today from the Bluff Hotel, which is at 630 East Bay Street. Is it east or west? It's probably west, actually.
It's west.
From the look on your face. Anyway, we're actually going to keep going with this conversation with Anne. It's a heartbreaking. We're starting with a really serious talk here about really serious things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have taken, again, this is another aspect of where this has gone, and to these events that you're now holding in Hallie's memory.
Yes.
So let's talk about those.
Yes,
What's
that's a
coming
great
up?
lead-in. So one of our signature events, I would call it, each year we do what's called a butterfly ball. And it's a fundraiser gala type event. We actually started it in 2022. That was our first year, so it would have been in celebration of Hallie's first birthday. And so we do it every year right around her birthday. She was born June 5th, so it's usually like the first Friday in June or somewhere around there. So this year, it's our third annual Hallie Grace Memorial Butterfly Ball for EB, and it's on June 7th from 6 to 10 p.m. at Savannah Station. And it just grows and grows each year, and we are so excited about what this year is going to be like. I have so much that I could talk about, so you might have to reel me in.
That's okay. This is good.
You've spelled this out for us too. I think.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got notes on
Oh,
this because
great.
there's so many cool things.
So many cool things.
Frank, do you want to handle that? 'Cause
So
there's some great
obviously
stuff.
you've got, it's from 6 to 10 p.m., June
Yes,
7th, right?
yes.
We've got dinner and dessert, live music.
Yes.
DJ, dancing the night away, got a photo booth. Wait till you see, we're going.
Yes,
By the way,
you
I just
are
have to say
going.
this because
Yes.
we're so excited
We're
about
gonna be
this.
there.
And we're going to be there.
I'm so excited.
And there'll be a live butterfly release silent auction. This is great.
Yes, yes. So this year, we are getting food catered by the Metro Diner and Pooler.
They're great.
They are great. They catered
Testimony
last
to that.
year as well, and it was delicious. And so we are so excited to have them back. Savannah Station, as always, is a gorgeous venue. So we've always been grateful to them to donating their space. The DJ is one of the best DJs in Savannah. It's All About You Entertainment. So I'm sure many people have heard of them. They actually DJ'd our wedding many years ago.
Nice.
And we adore them. And they do a fabulous job. So they donate the DJ and the photo booth every year.
That's great.
We do have the live butterfly release, which if you've
Great
never
idea.
seen is such a
Okay.
unique experience.
Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that. Let's tease the audience
It
with
is,
that.
it's just something that you really can't describe until you're there. But basically, what we do is we donate a butterfly for every EB warrior lost. So I think last year we donated about 45 butterflies for the ones that were okay with us donating for their
Yeah.
family. And then also people can purchase a butterfly to donate or to send off in honor of someone. So it doesn't have to be someone that passed, but if it's someone who is currently struggling with something or someone who you really admire, you can always purchase a butterfly for about $12, and then we will buy that butterfly for you. And then once we're there, we actually read an entire list of names, so everybody gets honored in a
Nice.
way. And then we have a couple of boxes, and on the count of 3 we release, and all of these beautiful butterflies go up. So I think last year total we had almost 100 butterflies go out.
That sounds incredible.
It is
really.
amazing. You're surrounded by them, and they are just these beautiful creatures, and they wake up and fly, and you get to see them kind of fly off into the sun. So it has this really lovely emotional component to it. Powerful,
Must be
that's
very
the word. Powerful.
Well, so this is what I'm pulling out of this discussion too, is the joy.
Yes, it's a
And-
celebration.
This event is a celebration, but everything that you are working on is
Yes.
you've brought joy to something that is a tragedy. It's
Yes.
not any less a tragedy,
Right.
but you're choosing joy to lead
And
with.
hope. Joy and hope. Yeah, we really think our story is Hallie's story. Hallie was, or is, the strongest, wisest, most amazing soul we have ever met. She barely cried in the midst of so much pain, which tears are never bad, but she was just so incredible at the way she faced life. She taught us, I think, more than we could have ever taught her. And so we're choosing to follow in her footsteps and do what we believe she would want, which is to create something beautiful out of her journey.
Well, I'm just picturing her at the event.
Oh, I
And just
know.
her little spirit being there.
I'm sure she's there.
Right.
And having fun. And
Yes.
you know, I mean, I think so. I know her daughter Brielle a little bit, and she is a live wire. She is such a spark, and she is
That's a
joy
good term.
as well. And
She
I
is
just think,
joy.
I can just picture Brielle just holding Hallie Grace's hand
Yes.
through this whole thing. And
Yes.
just
I can picture them
loving
dancing
Yes,
together.
yeah.
We are, speaking of, going to have this amazing band coming in, Hooked Like Helen. If anyone wants to look them up, you should, because they are phenomenal. And they are actually donating their whole travel and performance and everything, because they also really believe in fighting EB. They actually just released a song called Marigolds for the Butterfly Children.
How terrific is that?
So they'll be doing all of that, and I can just picture all three of my children in front of them dancing,
Right.
loving life together. So I agree with you. I'm sure she's there in spirit, and I'm sure we'll all be able to feel her there. So it really is like a celebration of her life, which is amazing.
Yeah. That's so
Well,
beautiful.
we constantly weave through each discussion we have the theme of Savannah.
Oh,
We feel
yes.
that there's an inclusionary theme. There is a deep community vibe going on
Yep.
here. And before we recorded today, you told us about your own assessment of that
Yes.
you think so too.
Yes, I do think so. I actually think that we were brought to Savannah. I think our family was meant to be here for many reasons. For Hallie, I think it was the best possible place for her to be born, which I could go into a lot of detail there, but I will not. But in general, I will say our family has just felt so incredibly welcomed. Our nonprofit has been welcomed. Our family has been welcomed and encouraged and built up here. Basically, we've been here for almost 7 years now.
Okay.
I can't do math, but I think that's right.
Not necessarily.
I
we got
mean,
it.
basically, I had convinced my husband to get married here.
Did you?
Yes, back in 2017.
Uh-huh.
So we got married at Forsyth Park Fountain.
How wonderful.
Oh.
We were living in Columbia, South Carolina at the time, and I have always loved Savannah. My parents used to bring me here as a little girl, and I just always thought I would live here one day. And so I thought, well, if I can't live here, I can at least get married here, right? So we got married at Forsyth Park, and my husband, who has only ever lived in South Carolina, told me he would never cross the border.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh, yes, it was a very big deal. I'm probably making it more than it was. But he was like, no, we can't move outside of South Carolina. And I said, well, if you move to Savannah, we can see South Carolina. Like, is that potential? So,
Which is 100% true.
right?
Does that sound like a psychologist to you? Does to me.
I might have been using some
I was
skills.
gonna say, a little management going on there.
A little
Think so.
management
Think
there.
so.
And I
Obviously
also
worked.
think getting married here helped, because he actually got to come down and see what a beautiful city it is. And we both just completely fell in love, and it became our city. And so about 6 months after we got married, I got a job offer, which I actually turned down to continue to work remotely to my job in Columbia, where I still am.
Oh, okay.
But it opened the door, and basically he was able to see that it was probably the best place for us to go while building our family. And so we bought a house, and we've been here ever since, and it's been fabulous. Everyone here is just delightful.
Okay, before we go into that,
Yes.
how delightful our town is, I'll tell you that we are recording from the Bluff Hotel at 630 West Bay Street. The
Got it.
Twin Spades Lounge, this is called. So this is just a tremendous place. It's just really fun.
is.
It's beautiful.
We've got some connection here with Anne, and then Sonny Kurtz, who's the sales marketing director for the hotel.
Yes.
So, but let's talk about Savannah. Let's just do-
Yes.
That's always our fun topic.
I love the fact that you said you felt you belong here.
Yeah.
You felt this is your.
This is our place.
This is your place.
Like, this is where we're going to be. And now our daughter is buried here. We're never leaving here. She is a part of Savannah forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we will be here for the rest of our lives. Whether or not we're in the same house, I don't know, but we'll be in the area.
That's, beside the point.
It's beside the point.
So, how has your husband? Where's your husband on this journey as well? Do you feel like you guys are a power team? Like,
Yes.
all the way.
Yes, all the way. I think he is my rock. I think that I wouldn't have been able to get through it with anyone else. It was such a shock to both of us when everything happened, and we had just basically moved here, had our first baby, COVID hit. We hadn't really experienced much of where we were. And it was just, I mean, it was a lot all at once.
an
Like the
onslaught.
past, 5 to 6 years of our lives have just been like complete adjustment constantly. And he is always there, and he goes with the flow, and he handles it. And so he also feels like this is exactly where we should be. He feels like we were all guided to be here, and just everything kind of has fallen into place. Maybe not the way that we had wanted, but we have a very strong faith, and we trust in that. And so watching our network expand since creating this nonprofit, going to these networking events and meeting these incredible people throughout the city, and all the little, I think you called them threads that weave
Right.
between everyone.
Yeah.
It has just been a really amazing experience, and it's just very validating that we're exactly where we should be. So he's along for the ride.
What were your early influences? Now, you ended up in psychology.
Yeah.
That's a powerful field in and of itself.
It
you
is.
help people on a regular basis.
Yeah.
You were doing that before you came here today,
Yes,
right? You told
yes.
us that.
I had a patient this morning, yes.
What is the inspiration as a young person to you? What are some of the things you were interested in, and what do you think finally led you to your field?
So that is a really tragic and hopeful story as well. It goes with the theme. So first I should say my dad is a psychologist. So I looked up to my dad. I do look up to my dad. He is an amazing guy. He lives about an hour away now with my mom, and I'm so lucky that I have them both nearby. But he was one of my first inspirations. Or I should say my first inspiration. And then when I was very young, I actually had a brother who passed from cancer.
I see.
So I was 7 and he was 3, and he got a very rare liver cancer. And so my parents went through what Joe and I are going through now, obviously slightly different, but
Sure.
child loss.
Right.
And I went through sibling loss and trauma at a very early age. And one of the things I decided right then and there is that I wanted to pay that forward. I wanted to be there for people who were experiencing trauma. Now, I will say I went the route of the VA and working with veterans because I needed to be slightly removed from the child loss arena,
Makes perfect sense.
right? That was a little too close to home. But I could work a lot with PTSD, and so that's actually what I do now. I'm on a PTSD clinical team, and I've been doing that for the last decade. And so I feel like my brother is the one that I do this for. I honor him every day. And then when we lost Hallie, she was just added to the mix there in terms of my inspirations. So yeah.
Wow, you're going to be very inspirational for a lot of people today
Yeah, you
who are going to be
really
watching this.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'll say it, the idea of choosing joy
Yeah.
in the midst of tragedy.
And it's a tough choice.
It's a
Like,
tough
let's be real.
choice.
It's not an
Yeah.
easy
Right.
route because there's a lot of other ways you could go. And it's also, just to be clear, every day doesn't look smiley, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have moments. I see my own therapist because I believe in what I do, so I practice what I preach. But it's a route where I feel healthier. I feel like I'm diverting that trauma and that tragic energy into something positive, and that helps me move forward every day, if that makes sense. So it's
Makes a lot
definitely,
of sense.
it's a hard decision. It's a hard road to walk, and I wish I didn't have to walk it.
Right.
Sometimes I get really angry about that this is the path. And I wanted to say but I'm going to change it. And I can also see so much beauty in it. I know someday all my questions will be answered, and I will be reunited with these beautiful souls in my life. So I just have to keep going. I have to keep going, and I have to make sure that I do what is best for me and all of my family, whether they're on earth or not.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And that is so encouraging.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really
Of
appreciate
course. Thank
that.
you for having me.
Absolutely. And again, we want to remind everybody
Yes.
this will be June 7th.
Yes.
At Savannah Station, 601 Cohen Street. It is an entire evening of the Grace Memorial Butterfly Ball. That is just going to be an amazing thing. Danielle and I will both be there. We're excited to be there. It's going to be a great event.
gonna
We
be
can't
And
wait.
awesome.
how do people get tickets?
Yes, so we actually have a link on our website, which is hallieflies.com, so HALLIEFLIES.com. If you go to our events page, you can just click right there. You can get tickets, you can sponsor, you can donate if you can't come. So there's lots of different ways, and there's all kinds of information on there as well in terms of what the ball is going to have.
Super.
Yeah.
Super. So we'll put that in the info box down below.
That would be great.
And have that all spelled out. Great.
Well, we want to thank the tech team today. The tech team behind the scenes did quite a bit before we got started.
They
They
did.
always do.
We had a little extra help on our tech team today.
We
so-
have my son
some,
Ben sitting in, and his bride-to-be, Nikki, for inspiration. And Maria is with us, of course, and we have Talia here today. So thank you
Yes.
guys for all the
Thanks,
help
you
and support
guys.
today.
Yeah.
Also want to remind everybody, our show today is sponsored by Media MO and Historic Solutions Consulting.
Yes, so we've got some other good talks in the works, some other good guests in the works.
We do.
So keep your eye on YouTube, All Things Savannah, because we've got some fun things coming up.
More stories coming your way. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.